salvaging interregional cooperation is crucial in the digital century. The emergence of artificial intelligence marks one of the greatest technological discontinuities in human history. Like the Industrial Revolution before it, AI promises extraordinary gains in productivity and prosperity. Unlike previous technological revolutions, however, AI also possesses the unprecedented capacity to undermine human civilization through autonomous decision-making, cyber warfare, and increasingly sophisticated military applications. Humanity therefore stands at a bifurcation point, where the future may settle into one of two radically different equilibria. The first is a positive equilibrium, in which AI continually expands productive capacity, enabling sustained improvements in living standards. If productivity continues to rise exponentially, society may gradually approach a condition where material scarcity is greatly diminished. The long-held aspiration of organizing society from each according to his ability to each according to his needs could become technologically feasible in ways that were previously unimaginable. The second is a negative equilibrium, in which AI becomes the engine of perpetual geopolitical competition. Autonomous weapons, self-improving military systems, and AI-directed cyber conflict could create an environment where states compete relentlessly for strategic dominance. Rather than ushering in an era of abundance, AI could instead transform the international system into a technologically advanced wasteland in which humanity survives amid the consequences of its own inventions. Much of the existing literature has concentrated on helping societies navigate the transition towards the positive equilibrium. Scholars and policymakers have proposed stronger social safety nets, extensive worker retraining programs, new mechanisms for redistributing income from capital owners to displaced workers, and cultural adaptations that redefine the relationship between work, leisure, and human purpose. These are important proposals. Yet they address primarily the socioeconomic consequences of AI rather than its geopolitical dangers. Considerably less attention has been devoted to preventing the emergence of the negative equilibrium itself. This distinction is crucial. Every major hardware innovation requires corresponding institutional software to ensure that technological capability serves constructive rather than destructive ends. AI is no exception. Without appropriate governance, the incentives of strategic competition and profit maximization naturally encourage the creation of increasingly autonomous systems whose behavior may eventually exceed meaningful human control. Significantly, many of the world's leading AI developers, including Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google, have themselves advocated stronger international governance of frontier AI models. Their concern reflects a recognition that commercial competition alone cannot adequately manage technologies whose consequences transcend national borders. Effective regulation must ultimately become global rather than merely national. The same logic applies to AI's enormous energy requirements. Modern AI systems demand vast computational resources and correspondingly large electricity supplies. Unless this energy increasingly comes from renewable sources, AI deployment could accelerate climate change precisely when the international community is attempting to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Richer countries therefore have both a practical and moral interest in assisting developing economies to undertake their green transition, irrespective of whether AI itself existed. Unfortunately, recent developments have moved in the opposite direction. The weakening of proposed federal oversight for frontier AI models in the United States during 2026, together with the rollback of programs supporting the transition towards net zero emissions, illustrates how domestic political change can undermine efforts to construct the international institutional framework required for responsible AI governance. Ultimately, neither AI regulation nor climate mitigation can succeed without a broader revival of multilateral cooperation. Effective global governance requires institutions capable of transcending great power rivalry. Equally important, reducing the strategic distrust associated with the Thucydides trap would diminish incentives for major powers to deploy AI primarily as an instrument of geopolitical competition. One possible contribution towards rebuilding multilateralism would be for ASEAN to co-initiate the formation of an Atlantic-Pacific Sustainability Partnership, APSP, a coalition of middle powers designed to strengthen interregional cooperation while remaining independent of competing spheres of influence. Middle powers possess strong incentives to support such an arrangement. When superpowers compete, middle powers frequently become collateral damage, serving as proxies in conflicts fought both between states and within them. Membership in exclusive geopolitical blocs also imposes economic costs by limiting opportunities to trade freely across rival coalitions. Their long-term interests are therefore better served by belonging to a broadly neutral grouping that maintains constructive relations with all major powers while upholding the principles embodied in the United Nations and the World Trade Organization. Yet neutrality cannot simply be proclaimed. It must also be recognized by the competing great powers. History demonstrates how difficult this can be. During the Peloponnesian War, the island of Melos attempted to remain neutral between Athens and Sparta. Athens rejected this claim, declaring that the strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must, before destroying the city. The lesson remains relevant today. Small states are rarely permitted genuine neutrality unless they belong to a sufficiently large and cohesive coalition whose collective weight commands respect. History nevertheless provides useful precedents. The 1955 Bandung Conference, the 1961 Non-Aligned Movement, and ASEAN's 1971 Zone of Peace, Freedom and Neutrality all sought to create strategic space outside great power rivalry. Their achievements were significant but ultimately limited. Many participating countries remained economically dependent upon the competing superpowers. Ideological divisions weakened internal cohesion. Regional conflicts fractured solidarity, and external powers frequently exploited internal differences through divide-and-rule strategies. A more durable neutral coalition would therefore require stronger institutional foundations. Recognition by competing superpowers becomes more likely when neutrality is backed by a large coalition possessing substantial economic and diplomatic influence, and when that coalition includes countries maintaining close relations with both Washington and Beijing. The proposed APSP could provide such a framework through three mutually reinforcing pillars. The first would be an expanded Atlantic-Pacific free trade community, effectively an APEC 2.0, open to all countries regardless of geopolitical alignment. Rather than replacing existing institutions, it would widen opportunities for cross-regional economic integration. The second pillar would establish a nonpartisan peace caucus within the United Nations, allowing middle powers collectively to function as a stabilizing buffer between competing spheres of influence. The third would create a sustainable development goals-oriented development agency through which wealthier members assist poorer members in achieving sustainable development. Such assistance would reduce the vulnerability of developing countries to financial inducements offered by competing great powers seeking to expand their respective spheres of influence. Naturally, the emergence of such a coalition would encounter resistance. Existing superpowers may perceive a cohesive neutral bloc as encouraging defections from their own alliances. Newly established institutions are also inherently fragile. Internal disagreements over governance, priorities, and burden sharing could easily undermine cohesion before the organization matures. These vulnerabilities would provide opportunities for external manipulation. Yet history also demonstrates that great powers sometimes support regional integration when it aligns with their strategic interests. The United States, through the Marshall Plan, required European countries to coordinate collectively in requesting and allocating reconstruction assistance, thereby strengthening the institutional foundations of European cooperation. NATO's integrated command structure similarly reduced unilateral military action while reinforcing collective security. Even so, European integration ultimately succeeded because external support coincided with a growing internal commitment among Europeans themselves to deeper cooperation. Whether an Atlantic-Pacific sustainability partnership could receive similar support remains uncertain. Different major powers possess different strategic incentives. Russia's contemporary posture has been shaped largely by security concerns arising from its confrontation with NATO. The United States has increasingly emphasized strategic competition within the Western Hemisphere and the Indo-Pacific. China continues to expand its influence through initiatives such as the Belt and Road Initiative, while asserting its interests in the South China Sea. Each would assess a neutral middle power coalition through the lens of its own geopolitical calculations. The central question therefore remains unresolved. Can a coalition of middle powers become sufficiently cohesive to preserve multilateral cooperation in an age increasingly defined by AI-driven competition? The answer to that question may determine not only the future of international order, but also whether artificial intelligence ultimately becomes humanity's greatest instrument of shared prosperity, or its most powerful engine of geopolitical instability.
The author has placed this work in the public domain. It may be freely imported, exported, shared, distributed, edited, modified, or reformatted without explicit consent from the author. As a visually impaired person, the author asserts his rights under the Marrakesh Treaty to facilitate access to published works for persons who are blind, visually impaired, or otherwise print disabled. 2013, wipo.int.
Early bird registration for my September 5th event is valid until July 31st for a minimum donation of 150 ringgit. Made before July 31st, you can attend my September 5th event. All proceeds for all your donations will be used not just for your meal for the day, but also for my various eye treatments and sponsoring some persons with disability to attend the event. From July onwards, it will be 150 ringgit until the end of July. Then in August, it will go up to 200 ringgit. Thank you.
How to attend Aislan Adnan's Meet the Author Luncheon at the Hungry Tapir, 135 Petaling Street, Kuala Lumpur. Short walking distance from the Pasar Seni MRT LRT station. From 12:30 hours, Saturday, 5th September 2026.
Step 1. Download all my 30+ books on nutrition for free from Z Library using this URL. However, there is a limit of 10 downloads a day from Z Library. The workaround is to download them, and 2,250 plus others, from my Optimal Health Community Telegram broadcast channel at EPUB Electronic Publishing. All my free ebooks are published in .epub electronic publishing format. If you are still living in the dark ages and only know .pdf, portable document format, and never heard of .epub, don't worry. You are about to have a mind-blowing experiential learning journey. If you use an Apple device, .epub files open in the Books app. If you are an Android user, use Universal Book Reader or a similar app. If you need further instructions on how to read .epub documents, just ask your favorite AI app to teach you. If you have never used an AI app before, start with Grok, Gemini, or ChatGPT. Then move on to DeepSeek, Claude, or Kling later.
Step 2. I have put all my books in the public domain, and you may share them freely. In fact, I strongly implore you to do so. Viralize them, make sure they reach every person who needs the knowledge contained in them. In Malaysia, the most recent data from the National Health and Morbidity Survey 2023 shows that 21.8% of adults are obese and 32.6% are overweight. This means the total combined rate is 54.4% of adults. Scary huge percentages of Malaysians are diabetic or suffer from other non-communicable diseases, NCDs. To be specific, in Malaysia, about 15.5% of adults have chronic kidney disease, CKD, up from 9.1% in 2011. around 21.4% of adults aged 30 and above are at high risk of cardiovascular disease, CVD. Among older adults, about 8.5% have dementia, equating to roughly 260,000 people as of 2022. A nation is only as strong as its human capital. How strong can a nation be if more than half its population is fat, sick, and nearly dead? Of what good can you be to your family if you are fat, sick, and nearly dead? You owe it to yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can possibly be.
Step 3. Read the books. Follow whatever advice that makes sense to you. If something doesn't make sense to you, or causes cognitive dissonance, you can ask me clarifying questions on the 5th of September. Also, be prepared to report on the 5th of September what improvements in your health you have noticed. So far, one person has seen her total cholesterol level drop from always above 5 to 4.6. Another has resolved a chronic constipation issue. I have written 2 books on human stool classification and stool analysis. Another person who wakes up every morning with a white layer of mucus on her tongue for more than half her life, now wakes up with a clear tongue. Step 4. Make the minimum donation by the required dates. The longer you prevaricate, the higher the minimum donation gets. Minimum donation per pax: 100 ringgit for donations received by June 30th, 150 ringgit for donations received by July 31st, 200 ringgit for donations received by August 31st, 500 ringgit for donations received by the 5th of September and for walk-ins. Places are limited. However, I do not wish to deprive anyone. If enough people register, we can take over the whole restaurant, so make your donations early to reserve your place. Purpose: your donations will go towards sponsoring persons with disability, PWD, to attend the event, and also towards my various ongoing eye treatments. Sponsorship: if you run a business and wish to promote your business, you can sponsor door gifts, gift vouchers, or even cash.
A writer and researcher in nutrition science, Aslan has authored dozens of books on plant-based bioactives, antioxidants, and the chemistry of whole foods. In this session, he will lead a dynamic Ask Me Anything on Nutrition session. All 30 of his nutrition books are in the public domain and are downloadable at the link below. Attendees must read these books in advance and come prepared with their questions. This is a singular chance to engage with one of today's leading independent nutrition thinkers. Don't miss it. A healthy, whole food, plant-based lunch with the menu curated by Aslan Adnan will be served. No need to write your name in the reference of the bank transfer, as it will automatically be displayed, but include your phone number in case we need to contact you for any last-minute changes.
We will also celebrate Aslan's 68th birthday.
Some of you have been wondering why a YouTube channel devoted to green political philosophy and ideology would address health issues. The stark facts are these. Data from the National Health and Morbidity Survey in Malaysia 2023 shows that 54.4% of adults are either overweight or obese, with 32.6% classified as overweight and 21.8% as obese. Abdominal obesity, per Roque-Roy, was also reported at 54.5%. Compared to 2011, the combined prevalence of overweight and obesity has increased from 44.5% to 54.4%. According to the same survey, 15.6% of adults in Malaysia have been diagnosed with diabetes, kencing manis. Additionally, about 21.4% of Malaysian adults aged 30 and above have a high 10-year calculated risk of developing cardiovascular disease, CVD, sakit jantung. In Malaysia, precise prevalence data for diagnosed CVD is somewhat limited. Data from 2010 to 2021 indicated that 16.6% of all registered deaths were due to CVD. A 2015 survey found that 14.1% of working-age adults had diabetes, 24.5% had hypertension, and 45.9% had high cholesterol. The World Heart Federation also noted in 2022 that around 11% of deaths in Malaysia are linked to CVD. In 2011, the prevalence of chronic kidney disease, CKD, sakit buah pinggang, was 9.07%. A nationwide study in Malaysia in 2018 estimated that 15.48% of adults, over 5 million people, have CKD. It really is alarming. These numbers are striking, especially when you consider how rapidly they have grown over just a decade. It is a massive public health challenge. In light of these statistics, the implications for nation building and capacity building are stark. What value does a nation have if more than half its population are fat, sick, and nearly dead?
Are you fat, sick, and nearly dead? Well, if you think you're overwhelmed, you don't know where to start with this book. And then as you progress, you can, go deeper, take a deep dive into the other books. And if you want to meet me to discuss what you've read in the books, you have a chance in September to do so. However, there are 5 places already been taken up, and there are limited seats, so the sooner you register, the sooner you'll reserve a place for yourself. Attendance is by donation, so details are in the video.
Important note on event registration fees. Early bird. Donation received between the 1st and the 31st of July 2026. Minimum donation of 150 ringgits. Normal registration. Donation received between the 1st and the 31st of August 2026. Minimum donation of 200 ringgits. Late registration. Donation received between 1st to 5th September 2026. Minimum donation of 500 ringgits. All proceeds after deducting third-party costs will go towards Azlan Adnan's various ongoing eye treatments to hopefully reverse or at least arrest his macular degeneration, cataracts, photophobia, mydriasis, dry eyes, and etc. This is mission critical as, if his vision fails, he'll no longer be able to produce, edit, or upload videos. Your voluntary contributions and donations are a critical success factor. As such, your generosity, empathy, compassion, and kindness are well and truly appreciated. We thank you in advance for your invaluable help and assistance in making this event a resounding success.
About the author. Azlan Adnan, M.A., is a writer and independent researcher whose work focuses on nutrition science, food systems, and the biological foundations of human health. His writing examines how natural foods contain complex compounds that interact with human physiology in ways that may support long-term well-being. He has a particular interest in plant-based bioactive compounds such as polyphenols, carotenoids, flavonoids, and other phytochemicals found in fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, algae, and fungi. His research explores how these compounds function in plants and how they may influence human nutrition when consumed as part of a balanced diet. Azlan approaches nutrition from a multidisciplinary perspective, drawing on biochemistry, plant biology, and public health nutrition. His work aims to translate complex scientific concepts into clear explanations so that readers can better understand the nutritional value of everyday foods. He is the author of several books examining natural sources of antioxidants and other dietary compounds. Author of the Antioxidant series, Antioxidants in Herbs and Spices, Antioxidants in Algae, Microalgae, and Fungi, Antioxidants in Fruits and Vegetables, Antioxidants in Nuts and Seeds, Antioxidants in Berries. Author of the Nutrient series, Macronutrients, Volume 1, Carbohydrates, Macronutrients, Volume 2, Lipids, Macronutrients, Volume 3, Proteins, Micronutrients, Vitamins, Trace Elements, and Minerals, Anti-nutrients, the hidden blockers in your food, Phytonutrients, the quiet power of plants, Water, the forgotten fourth, a macronutrient you can't ignore. Other books on health and nutrition. Tuber's Briefing Paper, 2nd edition. Aslan's 5-Powder Manifesto. Eating the Greek Way, how cultural habits support health without trying. Ideology on a Plate, how Robert F. Kennedy Jr. turned U.S. dietary guidelines into a scientific farce. Maslow in 2026, a practical guide to actual needs, not scrollable wishes. These works form part of an ongoing series exploring the chemistry, biological roles, and nutritional significance of bioactive compounds in plant foods. Through his writing, Aslan advocates a practical food-first approach to nutrition. His work emphasizes whole foods, dietary diversity, and balanced eating patterns, rather than reliance on isolated nutrients or supplements. He holds a Master of Arts in International Business and Management from the University of Westminster in London, and writes extensively on nutrition science, health, and food-based approaches to long-term well-being. Aslan Adnan, the quiet revolutionary of real food writing. Aslan Adnan, M.A., is a Malaysian polymath who spent decades turning food into philosophy. Raw, unfiltered, no hype. You won't find him pushing superfoods or miracle diets. He dissects what actually works. Whole plants, spices, microbes, and the quiet chemistry that keeps bodies humming. With over 30 books, self-published, shared freely on Z-Library, Facebook groups, Telegram channels, Aslan's output is prolific. Part manifesto, part manual. Early works like Spring Has Sprung, a psychological thriller, and travelogues on the road to the East Coast reveal his roots in journalism, advertising, and storytelling. But nutrition became his mission. Educated with a Master of Arts in International Business and Management from the University of Westminster, London, he taught at the School of Management, Royal Holloway, London, while pursuing doctoral research in business strategy and environmental management, specializing in the international timber trade. That academic backbone, rigor, systems thinking, sustainability, bleeds into his food writing. No fluff, just evidence. The core series, the Macronutrients Trilogy, Volume 1 on carbohydrates, glucose, fiber, metabolism, Volume 2 on lipids, fats, omega-3s, inflammation, Volume 3 on proteins, repair, enzymes, muscle. Then micronutrients, water, and anti-nutrients, the plant world's double-edged sword. Anti-nutrients are naturally occurring compounds in whole foods, phytates, oxalates, lectins, goitrogens, that can bind minerals, block enzymes, or mess with absorption. They evolved as plant defenses, but in us, they steal iron from spinach, calcium from kale, or spike gut irritation from raw beans. Variety wins. 30 plants a week, not monodiets. Raw's romantic, but cooked smarter. Add spice blends like Aslan's 5-powder manifesto, turmeric mixes for real anti-inflammation, and you've got a library that says, eat wide, not weird. Why release it all into the public domain? Because knowledge isn't currency. It's oxygen. Aslan watched corporations gatekeep health, paywalls on papers, patented supplements, proprietary blends that hide what works. He refuses. His books aren't for sale. They're for spread. No DRM, no ads, no ego. Just files anyone can download, print, share. He says it plain. If one person in a kampong swaps white rice for brown or steams kailan instead of boiling it, that's the win, not royalties. He's no gatekeeper. His Facebook, Aslan Green Party, Instagram, and YouTube drop bite-sized truths. Traffic light WFPB guides, eye health talks on lutein, vegan journeys. He credits tradition, curries, forest mushrooms, seaweed from tides, and lives it. Unpeeled carrots, home ferments, no moralizing. 30-plus titles aren't about volume. They're depth. Carbs to phytonutrients, water to gut bugs. Aslan doesn't sell health. He hands you the tools. Read him and your plate changes. Not because you're broken, because you're built for better.
Subscribe button to show your support. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel to show your support.